Hi everyone, this is Max here with another video on Princess Connect Redive. In this video I will talk about PvP. PvP is an important gameplay mode, one of two important gameplay modes in the game. And the reason I say it's important is because PvP rewards gems, a lot of gems in fact. If you start PvP and you reach rank 1, first of all you'll get what's called first time placement rewards, which are given out every time a player hits a new high for their top rank in Arena. And the total for that comes out to around 40 to 50,000 gems for Arena and another 40 to 50,000 gems for Princess Arena. So in other words, when you hit rank 1 in both Arena and Princess Arena, you get like 80 to 90,000 gems from that alone. In addition to the first time placement rewards, there's also what's called the daily gem rewards for PvP, and that depends on your placements. As you can see, first place gets 300 per day. Even if you're just top 50, you'll still get 100 per day per mode. Using myself as an example, I get an average of maybe 300 a day from Arena and Princess Arena combined. Yesterday, for example, I got 115 from Arena and then 250 from Princess Arena. So that kind of adds up over time to a fairly large amount that'll help out your ability to pull for characters in this game. So when it comes to getting better at Princess Arena, some players might think that there's not much to it because it's fully automated battles. And while that's true, there's actually a fair amount of depth to the system that's worth learning about. So in this video, I kind of talk about how to get better at PvP and sort of my own experiences at how I improved. I'll say at the outset that there is a cheat sheet of sorts for PvP in Princess Connect, and that's called Arena Databases. One example of an Arena database is this one, for example, and I'll put the link in the video description later. So basically what the Arena database does is, you go into it and then you pick out the enemy team's compositions. So, let's say, for example, the enemy team has a Pudding, a Kuka, a Nozomi, a Tamaki, and a Maho, right? Shows up as the defense team. And you just press search, and it'll show you a bunch of compositions that other players have tried and uploaded to the site, basically like suggesting compositions that can beat the enemy team. And you'll just, you can look at these and try to find one that fits your team and you can use it. With that said, although there are Arena databases, I don't recommend relying on them too much for two reasons. One is because it's more fun to come up with your own teams. When you come across a new team in PvP, you can spend some time analyzing how to beat it, and that's more interesting than just copying a team on the Arena database. And moreover, I think it's important to be able to come up with your own teams, because sometimes you might not be able to use a team that's suggested on Arena database. For example, you might not have a character that's shown in there. Or, let's say it's in Princess Arena where it's 3 teams against 3, right? What if the Arena database suggests the same character for 2 of the enemy's defense compositions? Well, you can't use the same character twice in Princess Arena, right? So you have to be able to come up with your own solutions sometimes. So how do you actually get better at PvP? Well, in Princess Connect, PvP really comes down to an understanding of the characters on each team, on your team and on the enemy's team. It's kind of like that saying in Art of War, like if you know yourself and the enemy, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. It's trite, but kind of true here. So for example, you want to know what tanks are on the enemy team, and how quickly can my DPS kill those tanks. If they have a pudding, for example, which is a very strong physical damage tank, and my team only has physical damage dealers, then it'll probably take a very long time to kill that pudding. And of course, the same question you should be asked about the DPS on the enemy team versus your tanks. Are they physical or magical? Is my tank better suited to tanking physical damage or magical damage? How quickly are my tanks going to die compared to the enemy's tanks? It also requires an understanding of, are there characters on either team that can reach beyond the tanks and hit the DPS of support characters behind them? And if so, what characters are they going to reach? Good examples of characters like that early on in the game are Hatsune and Tamaki. Tamaki has her normal attacks only hit the character in front of her, so normally it hit the tanks, but both her skill 1 and her Union Burst targets the enemy with the highest magic attack. Her skill 2 does as well, but it doesn't deal damage, it just strings TP. So a Tamaki would be suited for hitting enemy magic casters beyond the enemy tank. Hatsune is kind of similar, except she targets the enemy with the highest physical attack. Other examples of characters that can hit beyond the enemy tank are AoE characters like Nino or Reno. Right, so they both have AoE Union Bursts that hit a certain area, which includes the tanks, but also an area behind them. And so it's important to know, how wide that area of effect is, who they'll hit, and whether when their Union Burst comes down, the back line will be dead, or are they still going to be alive. Another thing to consider would be, are there characters that can inflict status debuffs, and who will they inflict the debuff on? So for example, Maho is a character that inflicts blind on the enemy character that's in second position. And blind basically causes the enemy to miss 70% of their attacks, although magic attacks can't miss. So keep that in mind. So if the second position on the enemy team has a physical debuff, has a physical damage dealer, then Maho would cause that physical damage dealer to basically be unable to do much of anything because they'll be missing most of their attacks. And the same thing will be true if there's a Maho on the enemy team. You might want to avoid putting a physical damage dealer in your second position on your team. And also another thing to consider would be, are there any characters that charge TP? So for example, the characters that can charge TP currently available are Yukari, Sarin, and Yuki. And you'll want to know, which characters will they charge? What exactly, who do they charge, and how quickly can they cause a character's TP to become 1,000 so that they can use their Union Bursts. So all of these is kind of general, and I've kept it fairly general because I think there's really just a lot of things you really need to kind of learn through time with experience in Princess Connect in order to get better at PvP, and it's not something you can fit in a time span of one video. But I just want to emphasize that it's really important to know the characters in order to be good at PvP. One thing that's been really helpful for me early on, and even now really, is watching replays to analyze why I won or lost against a specific team composition. Excuse me. And that's because the results of PvP in Princess Connect tend to be fairly predictable. What I mean by that is, if you pit two teams against one another repeatedly, I would say probably 9 out of 10 times you will get the same result. The characters, they all have specific skill orders, and the amount of damage they do outside of critical hits is going to be the same. So generally, if you play out the same team composition against each other, you'll get the same results. And by watching replays, you're able to kind of determine what exactly happened that caused you to win or to lose. For example, did you lose because your tanks died before the enemy's tanks died? Then you want to consider, is it because you're using the right tank against the enemy's damage type, and whether your DPS is suited to killing the enemy's tank. Or another reason why you might have lost is because your backline DPS died first before your tanks. And if that's the case, for example, if you're up against the enemy team and they have a pudding, but they also have a Tamaki, you're tempted to use magic DPS to kill the pudding, but the Tamaki on their team is going to target your magic DPS. So in those situations, you have to think about, well, do I have a way of dealing with the Tamaki first so that they don't, she doesn't pose a threat to my team? For example, if the enemy Tamaki team is in their position 2, then you can try putting Maho there. Maho blind the second position, in this case Tamaki, so maybe Tamaki won't be as big of a threat. Or you might try, maybe I'll get a tank with a taunt, so that when Tamaki uses her Union Burst, she'll still hit my tank with taunt. So there's things to consider like that, and by watching the replays you can determine when exactly do the characters die, when exactly do the Union Bursts happen, what caused the characters to die, and learn from that and adjust your team accordingly. And pretty much over time, when you keep at it, you'll eventually be able to make your own PvP teams and eventually get to rank 1. So that's all I plan to say in this video, and in future videos I kind of go a bit more in depth about specific PvP characters and mechanics in PvP. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.